Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. I hope that your week is going well. I hope you, your family, your friends, everyone in your world is staying strong and healthy right now. And yes, I've got some really good news because, kids, this is a holiday week, at least where I am here in the United States of America. Because on Saturday, we will be celebrating 250 years as a nation. And I realize, even as I say that there may be some listeners out there that are going to hear that, and I don't know, maybe take offense. Or maybe they're going to say, well, yeah, 250 years of imperialism and colonization. Yeah, I know. Oh, but make no mistake. We also have 250 years of people waiting in line to try to get in. Oh, and also sometimes not waiting in line and risking life and limb to still try to get in. Look, as older, financially well-to-do, well, mostly white women love to point out, this country of mine does have some flaws. And right now, in my country, we are more divided than ever before. At least I feel like we are. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just recency bias. But I feel like we can't agree on one thing right now. If you say it's this, the other side says it's this, we can't agree on anything. We're completely divided. And yet, over the last few weeks, I've been watching these World Cup fans, and they come to my country from other countries. And they are just blown away by our country. Because, we might not have everything right. We might not do everything right. Oh, but you know what we have? We have Buc-ee's. We have barbecue. We have cars. We have air conditioning. We have ranch dressing. We have ice for our drinks. And yes, those drinks usually come with free refills. Do we do everything right? Of course not. But do we do a lot right? Yeah, in fact, I'd go as far as to say that we do more right than most other countries. So we're doing something right. Well, with that in mind, today on The Dose, yes, NBA free agency is underway. We could talk about that. Kawhi Leonard is headed back to Canada. And Bronny James is wondering why in the world doesn't my key card work anymore to get into the Lakers facility. The World Cup is cruising along. We have had some insane games already, and now we are in those elimination games, which are even more fun. But like I said, this weekend is the 250th birthday of my country, so I have something a little bit special for you. Today, we are going to be flashing back to some very American Daily Dose Top 5s from days of yore. We are flashing back to when we counted down the top 5 American sports figures that if you're going into battle, you'd want them right next to you. As well as the top 5 greatest American sports moments ever. Yeah, so we've got a very American Daily Dose for you today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a very American Daily Dose flashback episode. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get to our Daily Dose top 5. Hey, some genuinely sad and scary news this past week as Russian President Vladimir Putin officially ordered his country's invasion of Ukraine last Wednesday after greenlighting some sort of specialized military operation. Russian troops had been inching toward the border with the Ukraine, and Putin's recognition of the independence of 2 Ukrainian regions set the stage for last week's military action beginning. We decided to launch a special military action
aimed at demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, is what Putin had to say. Hey, I'm not going into the politics and the reasons of why this is all happening. I'm not going into all the reasons for and against the United States' involvement in this huge mess. You can find that on my other podcast, the Daly Dose Foreign Policy podcast. But I did find something, once again, that brings this kind of back to the world of sports that this podcast actually does cover. See, unlike American celebrities who think they can make a video of themselves like singing Imagine or some nonsense, legendary Ukrainian boxing brother tandem Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko, they aren't making any documentaries with Sean Penn. They're not having a Zoom call commercial reading some goofy poem. Instead, they are actually going to real work, and they are doing some scary things. They are, in fact, on the ground in Ukraine, and they say they are going to be actually fighting with their countrymen and women to defend their country. They're also calling on the other countries in the world to assist civilians and stop Russian forces from their ongoing slaughter of the Ukrainian people. I mean, they are even saying that Vasily Lomachenko has joined a territorial defense battalion in Ukraine as that country is trying to fend off the invasion from Russia. Vasily Lomachenko? Can you imagine going to battle and next to you, you see the Klitschko brothers and Vasily Lomachenko? Vitaly Klitschko is actually the mayor of Kiev, and they say he is currently on the ground alongside his brother Vladimir, who enlisted in the Ukrainian army to help fight and help try to keep their country's sovereignty. Now, the Klitschkos put together quite a record as a boxing tandem in the world of sports. Those two brothers have a combined professional boxing record of 109 wins, with, I might add, 94 knockouts, and just 7 losses, including 46 world title fights. Hey, those two guys make me think the Russians had better be real careful. If you think this is going to be easy, the Klitschko brothers might have something to say about that. I mean, the Ukraine might end up being a much tougher nut to crack than people might actually think.
I'm not beaten yet. I still have armies in the Ukraine.
The Ukraine. You know what the Ukraine is? It's a sitting duck. A road apple, Newman. The Ukraine is weak. It's feeble. I think it's time to put the hurt on the Ukraine.
I come from Ukraine. You not say Ukraine weak?
Yeah, well, we're playing a game here, pal.
Ukraine is game to you? How about I take your little bolas?
But hearing the Klitschko's involvement here, it also got me thinking, if I'm in the Ukraine right now and I see the Klitschko brothers fighting alongside me, I'm going to feel a lot more confident. But I actually am not from the Ukraine. I'm an American. So here's the question I have for you today on our Daly Dose Top 5. What American sports figures in history would you want fighting alongside you that might make you feel just a little bit better about going into battle? Today, our Daly Dose Top 5 counts down the top 5 American sports figures that I would want to go to battle with. And keep this in mind, this is when these people were in their prime. Time has no meaning here. We're just looking at all time. Who would we want as Americans to go into battle with us? Let's start off at number 5. And if I'm going into battle, I want someone back in that war room who's doing all the planning, all the plotting, all the scheming. Hey, if we're going to be out in the field, if we're going to be out on the front lines fighting, I don't want some idiot coming up with a plan. I need someone that is going to have my best interests at heart. But I also want someone that is capable of using whatever personnel that he has and putting them in the best situations to be successful. I also need someone who will do anything to win. Hey, who is someone that would try to win at all costs? Someone that might be great at scheming and coming up with a game plan to win. And honestly, I mean, this isn't a game. This isn't a sport. This is war. I don't care how they do it. Just get it done. So you come up with some film from other countries' military that maybe you're not supposed to have. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. You do what you have to do to win. So maybe he goes over to other countries and maybe he deflates their Jeep tires. I don't know. Whatever. If I'm going to battle for the United States, let me have NFL coach Bill Belichick doing some planning. Because I know That guy is going to do whatever it takes. And Bill Belichick comes in today at number 5. We move on to number 4. And while I want a good planner as we go to battle back in that war room, I also need someone who gets things done. You need to be strong. You need to be fast. You need to be fearless. You need to be tough. And honestly, you need to be a little bit mean. Well, our number 4 entry had all of those qualities, and this guy produced. Check this out. Michael Strahan and TJ Watt are tied for the most NFL sacks in a single season at 22.5. The great Bruce Smith has the most sacks in NFL history in his career at 200 sacks even. Well, thanks to nearly 30 years of research, Pro Football Reference has added sack totals for players that played before 1982 when sacks actually became an official NFL statistic. Up to this point, there have been some estimates of how many sacks people had recorded from some of the best pass rushers ever, but they were just kind of guessing. Well, Pro Football Reference actually did the work and came out with exact totals. According to their decades of research and film work, Los Angeles Rams pass rusher Deacon Jones is now unofficially credited with 26 sacks back in 1967. Now remember, in 67, he only played 14 games. Deacon Jones had 26 sacks in 14 games. Jones is also unofficially credited with 173.5 career sacks. That would be third most in NFL history if they actually, counted those. Here's what's crazy. Jones racked up those 173.5 sacks in only 191 career games. Bruce Smith got his 200 by playing 279 games. For comparison's sake, if Deacon Jones had played as many games as Bruce Smith, he would statistically have over 250 sacks in his career. That, my friends, is serious production. But like I said, I also want someone who's a little bit mean. Deacon Jones was so mean that he would use a head slap to get opponents to close their eyes, and then he could get by them. He would hit them in their head. Listen to this clip from NFL Films.
The head slap was to do two purposes. One was to give myself an initial head start on the pass rush. In other words, an extra step. Because anytime you go upside a man's head or a woman, then they have a tendency to blink their eyes or close their eyes, and that was all I needed.
Did you hear what he said? Did he really just say, if you hit a man or a woman? Play that again.
Because anytime you go upside a man's head or a woman.
He did. Deacon Jones said, when you hit a man or a woman. Was Deacon Jones trying to just be all-inclusive back before that was a big thing? I don't know what it was. Or was he giving advice? I don't have any idea. I don't know. I do know this. I want that guy on my side because he's going to hit whoever comes at him. And for that reason, Deacon Jones comes in today at number 4. We move on to number 3. And we reach another guy that I would go into battle with because I want a good planner back in the war room. I want a mean guy that has speed and strength and will slap anyone in their head, man or woman, apparently. But I do also want a planner in the field. I want someone that is smart. I want a tactician. I want someone who knows what to do before it even happens. Our number 3 entry knows the best way to attack the opposition because he has a mind like a computer. Former NFL quarterback Peyton Manning, he just had that mind. Peyton, honestly, he wasn't that great of a passer. His pass got there, but it really wasn't that pretty. He threw a lot of ducks. He wasn't even particularly over athletic. He couldn't run fast or jump or really do anything physically. But Peyton Manning's mind was so sharp. He knew exactly how to hurt you. He would plan. He would think. He would change his plays on the fly. He would direct traffic and get people to be where they needed to be to beat you most effectively. Yeah, that's the kind of guy I want on the ground with me. Plus, I have a question for you. Have you ever heard the old line, say you're with a group of people and you see a bear. You get attacked by a bear. Remember, you don't have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than someone else. Well, I guarantee I can be faster than Peyton Manning. Plus, that giant noggin of his is going to draw some fire away from me. Peyton Manning comes in today on our list at number 3 because I think he would actually be quite helpful in this sort of a situation. Okay, so we arrive at number 2. And you can see we are putting together quite a little team here so far. We have Bill Belichick in the war room. We have Deacon Jones slapping people in their heads. We have Peyton Manning in the field. He's planning. He's moving people into the right formations. Well, now we add one more quality. Because in this situation on our top 5 today, I want a winner. Hey, these poor people in the Ukraine, they're not playing some silly game. This is way more serious. And our thoughts are genuinely with all the people around the world that are being affected by this. But on this list today, I can't take a chance on someone who might lose. I need someone who knows how to come out on top. Well, how about we take a guy that has more rings than fingers? Because Bill Russell played 13 seasons in the NBA. I want you to think about this. Just 2 times in that 13 years, his season ended without a championship. The other 11, he won it all. No one can compare in the winning department to Bill Russell. He played 2 years ever that he didn't win the title at the end of the year. That's insane. 11 championships? No one's come close to that. But it wasn't just that. Bill Russell, after his playing career, then coached for 8 years and he won 2 more rings. Bill Russell had 13 rings. He almost had enough rings to fill 3 hands. Yeah, I need to win in this situation. Bill Russell won. And sometimes he beat more talented players. Sometimes he beat more talented teams. It didn't matter. Bill Russell found ways to be on the winning side of things. Oh, I would definitely want him with me if we have to fight. For that reason, Bill Russell comes in today at number 2. So we reached the number 1 person on the Daly Dose top 5 of Americans that I want going into battle alongside me if we actually have to fight. And I'm taking this number 1 guy for a few reasons. One, in his prime, he was very, very good. I mean, this guy could get into a phone booth and he could do some serious damage. But more importantly, he brought something else to the table. Because our number 1 guy brought intimidation. And in something as scary as this, if I can scare you a little bit, that might help my side. Because you could see back in his prime, bigger, stronger men climbing into the ring against Mike Tyson. And you could tell they wanted nothing whatsoever to do with that Tasmanian devil. They were beaten before the fight even started. I mean, if you're scared to death before the battle ever begins, yeah, that's going to be good for my side. And make no mistake, like I said, Mike was talented. Mike could do damage. And if nothing else, Mike might bite you. He might kick you. He might try to eat your children. He wanted to intimidate you. Yeah, Mike Tyson is going to bring a little fear into play. And in this situation, I think I like that a lot. Hey, in all seriousness, we wish the best for all those affected by this scary situation, and we hope that here at the Daly Dose, we can take your mind off of all the craziness going on in the world, at least for an hour each week by talking about some subjects that are a little more fun, but nothing in comparison to things going on in the real world, some scary stuff going on out there. If you are listening to this podcast right now, you are dealing with tough situations. Hey, I wish you and your loved ones health. I wish you safety, whatever it is that you are going through. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daly Dose, we need to get over to our Daly Dose top 5. So, we have been talking about things that are uniquely American today. This 5th of July, the day after we celebrated our independence from tyranny, we've discussed a number of traditions, we've discussed some foods, we've discussed some celebrations, and we've discussed things today that are uniquely American. But what are the actual greatest moments on the playing surface for America in the world of sports? What are some of the most memorable moments on the playing surface in the world of sports? Well, we have 5 unforgettable moments that kind of capture the essence of Americans. Here are our top 5 greatest USA sports moments. We start off at number 5. And we have learned that there is nothing that can bring together this country quite like a horrible tragedy. But back in September of 2001, that's exactly what we had. On September 11th, 2001, America was attacked by a militant Islamist extremist movement called Al-Qaeda that flew commercial airliners into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. 2, I might add, of the 5 tallest buildings in the world at the time. Now, they also aimed 2 other flights toward targets in or near our capital, Washington, D.C. The third team succeeded in crashing near the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense in Arlington County, Virginia, while the fourth plane actually crashed out in rural Pennsylvania following a passenger revolt in which they actually fought back. Now, those attacks killed nearly 3,000 people, and they actually instigated the multi-decade global war on terror. And when these attacks took place, the world kind of stopped. I mean, air travel was halted, and the world of sports completely stopped for a few days. However, just 10 days later, it was decided things needed to get back on course. And what better place to shine than just blocks away from where the tragedy had taken place? It was on September 21st, 2021, when New York Mets catcher Mike Piazza swatted a dramatic go-ahead 2-run home run that not only helped his team win a game against one of their biggest rivals, the Atlanta Braves, but also gave the Empire State a reason to smile after what had happened. Now, it wasn't just the game, because you also had Diana Ross singing God Bless America prior to the game. You had Liza Minnelli singing New York, New York during the 7th inning stretch. Then Piazza's home run gave the home team that 3-2 win, and the nation cheered with tears in their eyes. The 2001 game between the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves, following the 9/11 attacks, comes in today on our list at number 5. We arrive at number 4, and we reach a very similar situation. Because the year was 1991, and our nation found itself at war for the first time since Vietnam. The Gulf War was a 90 to 91 armed campaign that was waged by a 39-country coalition in response to Iraq invading the country of Kuwait. And our country, remembering some of the treatment of soldiers that returned from Vietnam, well, they took a really, really patriotic stance back in the 90-91 era. American flags and ribbons were all the rage. And when the Buffalo Bills faced the New York Giants in Super Bowl 25 in Tampa, Florida, both teams wore red, white, and blue. That's their color scheme. I might add, again, the patriotism was running high because of what was going on overseas. And when singing sensation Whitney Houston stepped up to the microphone to sing the Star-Spangled Banner as only she could, again, the patriotism was running high. There was not a dry eye left in the building. The rendition was followed by a surprisingly really good physical football game, which at the time, Super Bowls, that was not the norm. Super Bowls had been blowouts for like a decade. And the Giants won this game 20-19 over the Bills when kicker Scott Norwood for the Bills missed a 47-yard field goal with just seconds remaining. How good was Whitney Houston's song, though? In the weeks following 9/11, more than 20 years later, her song resurfaced in America and began climbing the charts again. Super Bowl 25 and Whitney Houston's incredible singing of the national anthem come in today on our list at number 4. So we reached number 3. And I'll be honest, this one would be higher, except for the fact that it's really going back in time. And so it just isn't as well known. There's not as much coverage. There's not as much like video evidence of the other ones on our list today. But make no mistake, this one was huge, and it was huge for so many reasons. We go back to the year 1936 and the Summer Olympic Games, which were being held in, yes, you guessed it, Berlin, Germany. Now, at this time, Adolf Hitler had come to power, and within just 3 years, the world was going to be at war. But back in 36, Hitler was in the process of kind of trying to prove his worth. To outdo the previous 1932 games in Los Angeles, the Führer had gotten a new 100,000 seat track and field stadium. He also had 6 gymnasiums and other small arenas built. He was going to try to show the gloriousness of the Third Reich. The games were the first to be televised. You also had radio broadcasts reaching 41 different countries. Hey, Hitler saw the 36 games as an opportunity to promote his government, to promote his ideals of racial supremacy, and of course, anti-Semitism. And the official Nazi party paper wrote in it that Jews shouldn't even be allowed to participate in the games. German athletes, a lot of times, were barred or prevented from taking place in the games by a number of different methods. Jewish athletes from other countries were said to have been sidelined so that they wouldn't offend the Nazi regime. Hitler actually went to the games every day. He was in attendance. And while Germany was the most successful country overall, they actually got 101 medals. Second place was the United States, clear back at 57 medals. Germany also got 38 gold medals, which put them on top as well. However, it was a young black track star that stood Hitler's ideology that he was part of the master race on its collective ear. Because Ohio State's Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals in the sprint and long jump events, and he became the most successful athlete to compete in Berlin. Owens won more than anyone. And Americans at home watched Jesse Owens beat the Germans, and he became a unifying figure way before the Civil Rights era. Jesse Owens' domination in Berlin comes in today on our list at number 3. So we reach number 2 on our greatest U.S. moments in sports, and we go back to another story where America watched good triumph over evil. But it was a little bit better this time. We go back again to 1936, where American heavyweight fighter Joe Louis was the number 1 contender to champion James Braddock's title. Louis had a 24-0 record. Meanwhile, German fighter Max Schmeling, he was experienced, he was tough, he was strong, but he was also beatable. He had a 48-7-4 record. And they say, when they scheduled this fight, Joe Louis took the fight lightly. He didn't train as hard as he usually would. The fight was held in Yankee Stadium in June of 36, and while Louis was the heavy favorite, Schmeling claimed he had studied some film and he had found a weakness in the Brown Bombers' defense. Turned out he wasn't lying. Schmeling attacked Joe's habit of dropping his left hand after he threw the jab. And he actually gave Louis his first professional loss. He knocked him out in the 12th round in front of a stunned New York crowd. Adolf Hitler was so happy with the result, he sent Schmeling's wife flowers and a message that said, "For the wonderful victory of your husband, our greatest German boxer, I must congratulate you with all my heart." Okay. Fast forward 2 years. Hitler was going to invade Poland just like a year later. But in June of 38, we got the rematch. Now, the United States economy was struggling because remember, it was coming out of the Depression. The economic problem had affected the U.S. throughout the 30s. And many Americans were hoping to get some inspiration from the world of sports. Now, adding to that economic instability was, of course, the fact that this was Nazi Germany against the United States. By the time Louis Schmeling rematched in 38, Nazi Germany had already taken over Austria. And there were tensions between Germany and kind of the rest of the world. Now, to be fair in this situation, Schmeling was not a member of the Nazi Party. And he didn't want to be used as a pawn in this game. In fact, he actually had a Jewish manager. But the Nazi regime exploited Schmeling. They were putting out propaganda. They were taking steps to make it looked like Schmeling was a full-fledged member of the Nazi Party. Schmeling's wife and mother were kept from traveling with him because they were worried he might actually defect to the U.S. But a few weeks before the rematch, Joe Louis visited Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the White House. And the New York Times quoted Roosevelt as telling Joe Louis, "Joe, we need muscles like yours to beat Germany." Well, on June 22nd, 1938, the fighters met again in Yankee Stadium. Among more than 70,000 people in attendance, you had Clark Gable, you had Douglas Fairbanks, Gary Cooper, Gregory Peck, J. Edgar Hoover. I mean, back then, that was Celebrity Row. Meanwhile, back in Germany, Hitler actually waived the Nazi-imposed curfew so that citizens could stay up to watch the fight. Now, they say Hitler called Schmeling prior to the fight to remind him no black fighter can be a German. In his 76 biography, Joe Louis wrote this: "I knew I had to get Schmeling good. I had my own personal reasons, and the whole country was depending on me." Imagine that pressure for a second. This time, Louis took his training for the bout very seriously. He gave up golf. He gave up women. He didn't drink. Joe Louis said to a friend before the fight, "I'm scared. I'm scared I might kill Max Schmeling." Hey, he wasn't far off. Louis attacked Schmeling from the opening bell, and he laid one of the worst beatings on him that honestly I have ever seen. It is a little bit barbaric to watch. Referee Arthur Donovan stopped the action for the first time just a minute into the fight. Louis had connected on 5 straight left hooks, and a body blow to Schmeling's lower left actually had him cry out in pain. So he sent Louis to his corner. Donovan restarted the fight, and Louis jumped on him again. He knocked him down with a right hook. Schmeling stood up on the count of 3. Louis came back, began beating on him again, connecting with his head. He knocked him down again. Somehow Schmeling got up at the count of 2. But now Schmeling was in trouble. I mean, he was a drowning man. Schmeling's corner actually threw a towel into the ring. The problem was, under New York State rules, that didn't end the fight. So his manager actually ran into the ring the next time Schmeling got knocked down and stopped the count at 8, at which point the referee had already declared the fight over. Joe Louis was the winner and the world heavyweight champion by technical knockout just 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the first round. It was a victory that pulled all of America in one direction. It was us versus you. Again, this is back in the 30s. Civil rights hadn't come around yet. And yet this country was all cheering for a black fighter to win. Joe Louis obliterating Max Schmeling and Hitler comes in today at number 2. So we reach the number 1 greatest sports moment in U.S. history, and where else can we go? You know, people forget why the Olympic Dream Team was formed in 1996. A lot of people criticize that. They still criticize the U.S. for sending pros to those games. But the fact is, most countries had been doing that for years. So the U.S. finally caught up. But back in 1980, the United States was forced to play a hockey team full of grown men, despite having just boys on the roster. The Soviet Union had won the gold medal in 5 of the previous 6 Winter Olympic Games, and they were heavy favorites to win another one in Lake Placid in 1980. The team consisted mostly of professional players with significant experience in international play. Meanwhile, the United States team, led by head coach Herb Brooks, was mostly all amateur players. There were only 4 players that even had minor league experience. The United States had the youngest team in the tournament and in U.S. team history. Prior to the games, in their last exhibition game against the Soviets at Madison Square Garden on February 9th, the Americans were crushed 10-3 by the Soviets. This wouldn't be close. Now, in the group stage, both the Soviets and the U.S. teams were unbeaten. The U.S. actually had a few surprises. They got a draw against Sweden, which was big for them. They pulled off a shocking 7-3 upset win over Czechoslovakia. And then they beat Norway, Romania, and West Germany, so they went 4-0-1. Meanwhile, the Russians were killing everyone. They beat Japan 16-0. They beat the Netherlands 17-4, Poland 8-1, Finland 4-2, and Canada 6-4. So on February 22nd, 1980, the Americans would get a rematch in the first game of the medal round. Well, the Soviets scored quick and took a 1-0 lead. Everyone thought this is going to be another blowout. But with 14 minutes left in the first period, Buzz Schneider took a hard shot from 50 feet out, and the Russian goaltender kind of misplayed it. The U.S. scored and tied it up. Okay. But Russia scored again. It was 2-1. But with the period ending, American Dave Christian fired a slap shot from like 100 feet away. The Soviet goalie saved the shot easily, but he misplayed the rebound. And it bounced out in front of him. Mark Johnson sliced between two defenders, found the loose puck, and fired it past the diving goalie. And suddenly the game is tied going to the second. The Soviets, they kind of panicked. They weren't used to this. They pulled their starting goaltender. After 2 periods, they held a small 3-2 lead. But then when the third period began, Team USA just kind of went crazy. Johnson scored again to tie the game with 12 minutes to play. And then 18-year-old team captain Mike Eruzione gave Team USA the lead just 2 minutes later. And American goalie Jim Craig and the defense and a home crowd that was losing their collective mind had to hold on for 10 minutes. The problem for the Soviets, they weren't used to playing from behind. They didn't even pull their goalie for an extra attacker. They had no idea how to even play that way. Somehow, the young U.S. team pulled off an absolute miracle, as you will hear on this clip from ABC.
The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Hey, the United States is a crazy mix of people from all over the world. We have different religions, different politics, and differing views of life, and sometimes that can be maddening. We fight, we complain most every day, and yet you will be hard-pressed to find another country that has ever done it any better. And, you know, when we are all pulling in the same direction, like we saw in our top 5 today, we can still be a force to be reckoned with. Hope you had a very safe and happy 4th of July this year.
Hey, next week on The Dose, we will be back to our regular format, and as we are now past the midway point of the summer, now July 4th will be over. Well, we just might have to check in on Major League Baseball, because now things might be starting to make a little more sense. We will also be sure to update what is going on in that World Cup tournament, and of course, anything else that might be going on in the world of sports. So be sure that you tune into The Dose next week, and be sure to let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daly Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the texts. Thank you for the tweets. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. Have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next week. Have a great week, everybody, and have a very safe and a very happy 4th of July.